So at some stage, the alcohol didn't become a friend, or didn't stay a friend. It became actually not just a crutch. It became actually like shackles, like something that is holding me back. And I know that nowadays. I couldn't see it then.
Hey everyone, this is Kim O'Neill from the Everyday's a New Day podcast and live show, and you're listening to the Going North podcast with the hilarious DomBrightmon. Be sure to subscribe to his show so you don't miss any episodes, and remember, every day is always a new day.
Today's review highlight comes from Vivian PT, and she titled her review, and it's a 5-star one no less, titled Superhero Podcast. This podcast is full of superhuman authors. Dom is a great host, and his voice is amazing. He has such a great demeanor and is so relatable to his guests and audience. Thanks a bunch, Vivian PT, for leaving that great review. So honored that you did just that. And if you're super special, awesome, or heck, even a superhero, if you will, go ahead and leave a great review and tell us what you liked about the show on Apple Podcasts, the app, or on GoingNorthPodcast.com. And we'll be sure to highlight it in a future episode. And speaking of future episodes, let's get on with today's episode. And today on the Highlight Reel Builder for Authors, known as GMP, the great, glorious, and glamorous, it's the Going North podcast. We got another super special, awesome human for you today, courtesy of Matchbox 20. Who am I kidding? It's actually podmatch.com, baby. That's right, indeed. The podcast site for podcast hosts and guests. And today's guest is on both sides of the microphone. This wonderful gentleman right here is a champion, baby. That's right, indeed, because he has allowed me to guest in this program. And in the words of one of my favorite video game characters, Big Smoke, it's time to return the favor, baby. So this wonderful guest today is all the way from New Zealand. That's right, indeed. And he is a best-selling bookcaster as well. So he's not only hosting a wonderful show of his own with 300 plus episodes and counting, but he is an author, a best-selling author of multiple books, y'all. So my man is prolific. And on top of that, he is also a speaker as well as an anesthesiologist and also a wonderful cinematographer indeed. So let's give it up for the good doc himself, Dr. Stephan Neff. How you doing today, Dr. Steph?
I'm doing ever so well. Wow, what an entrance. I like that. I feel good. Well, yes, I'm crazy enough to do all these things. So, okay, you need a bit of energy to do that. And I'm so delighted to be on your show. I'm so delighted to return the favor, as you say, and be ready for any of your questions that hopefully give value to your audience. And I'm open to anything. So, Dom, take it away from here. I'm yours.
That's right. It's gonna be fun on the bun indeed. I mean, hey, my man is an A+ host, so it's like, hey, I gotta not slack off.
But no pressure, no pressure.
There we go. That's right, indeed. One of the biggest laws on earth, right? No pressure, especially for tires.
No. Oh, ouch. Oh my God. You're good with your dad jokes, aren't you, man? You didn't shine them when you were on my show. That's good. Okay, I see where this is going.
Oh yeah, that's right, north indeed. But actually, if I'm not mistaken, with your life, it wasn't just north; it was east and west, and then back out west, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That's true, and a lot of things went south and belly up. So yes, well, I was born in Germany, and I'm German, but I was never a good German. Okay, I couldn't clack my heels very well, so therefore they threw me out, and so I realized that I needed to be somewhere else. Germany is a beautiful, beautiful place, but it has a strict hierarchy, and I never was really so good with I guess sort of authority, etc. But I've got a huge respect for our law enforcement agencies around the world. That's not the point. But when you come to Germany, we have invented a bureaucracy. We have become masters in that. So, and I never could do with that. So anywho, this was not really the reason I left Germany. It is, I basically went to university, and I by the time I finished being a doctor, the wall had come down between the former East Germany and West Germany. And I was about 3 years later, I was getting ready to become a doctor, and you could get a doctor to mow your lawn. We had far too many doctors at that time, and it was quite a brutal thing. So I very quickly ended up overseas because that was the only place where there was actually a job waiting for me in the UK. And that's where I started sort of my career as an anaesthetist. So very quickly I became from German, I became cosmopolitan. And I guess that's what you were saying. I lived around the world, worked around the world, and ended up here in beautiful New Zealand, which technically is actually in your future. So I'm reporting in from the future. Do, 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 do. So, here you go. So no, yeah, that's pretty much how I ended up here in beautiful New Zealand. There are very few things that can kill you here apart from your own stupidity. So there are no nasty creepy crawlies, or if you go to Australia, you're sharing your bathroom with a python or whatever kind of viper. No, none of that. And there are no ice bears and no brown bears and no black bears here. And no, the only bears are strawberries and and I can just about deal with them. So yeah, no, it's a good place. Should you guys ever want to come here into this beautiful country, be my guest. It is lovely, absolutely lovely.
Heck yeah, indeed. That's what I'm talking about, indeed. And my goodness, it's kind of interesting, especially in your past life, I guess in Germany, in a land, being a doctor in a land of abundance of doctors, where you got too many doctors, and it's like, oh, wow, time to leave the country and explore other things. So my goodness, like, did you always want to be a doctor growing up? Is that what led to that as your chosen profession, or did you just have an original goal and then life and side quests just come at you and you're like, okay, fine, I'll go this route?
No. Initially, I don't think I was so bright, and no one in my family ever went to university. So therefore, my parents expected the same as what they did and what their grandparents did, basically blue-collar workers. And having said that, I soon realized at some stage that I could throw a few of these neurons up there together, and actually became quite good at school. So therefore, I had the choice to go out there somewhere. And around about that time, there was sort of a romantic kind of television series from the UK there, All Creatures Great and Small, all romantic, about the 40s, where there was a vet in a rural England. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to be a vet. Yeah, that's what I do. And then a friend dragged me along to St. John's. St. John's is sort of a institution like the Red Cross. And I became a volunteer paramedic. And very soon I realized it's actually much more fulfilling and beautiful to help humans compared with dogs or cows or so. And then suddenly that idea was born, and I never looked back, man. It is such a beautiful profession to be in. It is, especially as an anesthesiologist in American speaking lands, you're basically the guy that gets called whenever shit hits the fan. So when there's a woman screaming in labor and needs pain relief, they call the anesthetist. If someone walks in front of a bus and is barely alive, they call the anesthetist into the emergency department. If, you name it, if someone is sick like a dog and needs intensive care, that's where the anesthetist is. So we are trained in a beautiful way. And I loved that. And I really excelled in that. I excelled in chaos. And I think that was something that came back really from my youth, because my youth was not so great. Growing up on the wrong side of the tracks, not much money around, and quite a lot of challenges, quite a lot of trauma. Not necessarily from my parents' trauma, so I was blessed that there was no abuse of sorts, but I was a typical child of those days. I was a latchkey child. So I guess I did a lot of things alone. Um, that leaves its own things. I mean, divorce and those kind of things. That when that happens to a small child, it leaves some pressure and maybe some stuffed up core beliefs. And unfortunately, down the line, when I was 13, I ended up in the wrong place, wrong time, and became the victim of a gang assault. And I was pretty smashed up, and that forever changed me. So I felt powerless, hopeless, and I had a bloody good going PTSD going. But at that time in the 80s, 70s, 80s, no one cared about that. No one talked about that. So the bruises hadn't even healed when I started training in martial arts with the German police force. You could do that hopefully you can still do that in these kind of sports clubs there. And we trained martial arts there and jiu-jitsu, and it was superb. So I was no longer the victim, but I turned into a survivor. And that was the time when Rambo films were out there, and it was Sylvester Stallone, and I turned into Rambo. So it was quite a dark time. And that dark time was continued for pretty much 5 years, in which I basically went to school and then did 2, 3, 4 hours of training. And that was my day. And all the time, basically, well, in all fairness, I brought the gang leader behind bars. He threatened to kill me. So there was there was quite a good incentive for me to actually become quite good in martial arts, because in my mind, I would be in a life and death fight, just like Rambo, or like any kind of those films from the 80s. So yeah, 5 years of no psychology, but lots of workout. And then I ended up being quite good at school. I didn't just escape my reality in the evening in my training, but I escaped the reality by working hard at school. So again, I ran away, I guess, from my problems, not knowing what I was doing, but instinctively just trying to distract myself. And I did that with work, and that was beautiful. And then suddenly university came. And university, 3 things came at the same time. Firstly, I realized that this gang leader will never ever find me. Number 2, there are girls out there. Number 3, there is alcohol out there. And this combination, especially the latter 2, that was actually a breakthrough. Because as I mentioned, I lived in the darkness for such a long time. And then one day I was sitting in a beer garden with 2 friends from university. And it was lunchtime, and we had a big glass of German Stein. Stein is about a liter of beer. And we're talking beer, not the kind of water with beer taste that you guys over there in the States enjoy. No, we're talking beer. Okay, man's beer. And so I had this liter of beer pretty much on an empty stomach. And suddenly I started laughing. And this laughter, it was a wave of dopamine washing over me. I felt good. I felt relaxed. There was no more fear in me. There was no more tension in me. I could forget about being a Rambo and could just be me, or be someone else, I guess. And that was such a beautiful experience. And unfortunately, from that point on, my brain, my memory system completely latched onto that and said, wow, that's good. I love that. Dopamine, give me that. And what's the best way to get it? Beer. And later wine, and, and I was having a beautiful social life. And I became good in mixing cocktails. I became good in my wines, so I knew them pretty well. And it was just lovely. When in reality, I was basically still running away, but I dressed it up nicely. Okay, so it is. Yeah, you get all this kind of culture wrapped around alcohol. So yeah, that was me. And being a good host, I always had alcohol at home. I was brought up as a good host in my life, and that is something that Germans are quite good in. So here I was, never without alcohol. Well, needless to say, the PTSD was still there. Future challenges came and went. And I had never learned to deal with my emotions and with my feelings and with all that. So it was Um, Initially, the first 10 years, I guess, was a lovely love affair with alcohol and with women and everything. I had a fantastic time. But regrettably, sooner or later, it starts biting you in the bum. Because alcohol is a little ninja of a molecule. It goes everywhere. It goes to your brain, to your heart, to your every single organ gets affected by it. And especially when you're like me, we're getting used to that and you need larger amounts. Oh, he can really hold his liquor, can't he? Yeah, that was tolerance. I needed far more to get buzzed before anyone else did. Which again was quite good, because if others got into trouble, I had the whereabouts and actually just de-escalated maybe a beginning discussion / fight. So it was quite good to have me around from that angle. And it was nice. It was all quite nice. But then, yeah, life has got its own challenges and its own ideas about your best laid plans. So whilst I was becoming a doctor, whilst I was getting very good in what I did, because the PTSD was actually helping me as a doctor. It's hard for you to catch me out in my work because it was, I'm switched on. I'm just this kind of hyper vigilant, always there kind of dude. And that was good for my work, but, not so good if you're always switched on. You have to switch off at some stage. So here I was. I kept working very long hours, and I kept then drinking to calm down. And that doesn't work in the long run. And unfortunately, yes, there was then lots of other challenges, grief, deaths, financial hardship, etc., etc. A lot of things happened in my life. And I never learned how to deal with that. So therefore, you rely on what made you feel good all those years ago, the dopamine rush that you had with your first big beer there. And it was, oh yeah. But guess what? You don't get that dopamine rush ever again. You're chasing it forever. And unfortunately, it's not coming back to that level. Maybe you can just get a glimpse of it from now and then. But that's a teaser that alcohol gives you. It just says, oh, come on, open another bottle. Maybe, just maybe you get that beautiful experience again. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. So at some stage, the alcohol didn't become a friend, or didn't stay a friend. It became actually not just a crutch. It became actually like shackles, like something that is holding me back. And I know that nowadays. I couldn't see it then. And yeah, so my life continued. And it took really a long time. It took, bloody hell, probably about 20 years until I was in my mid-40s, until I finally got my act together. Not willingly, may I say, but being dragged into rehab by my wife and supported by my employer, and where they said, look, we have made the call for you. You don't need to choose to go to rehab. You will go into rehab. You're stood down from work. We will continue to pay you, but you will end up in rehab. You're going to get your shit sorted. And that's exactly what I did. And that was the most beautiful transformation that was waiting for me. But I couldn't see it then either. The first day I was there sitting there like a deer caught in the headlights. And actually on that Friday afternoon in rehab, 3 other inmates got admitted. And these were 3 women. We all had a story with alcohol. And very soon, I mean, what do you do as a self-respecting alcoholic? You try to show off. Oh, what's your liver function like? Oh, that's rookie numbers. How many bottles of wine? Oh, come on. Nah, I'm better than that. What's the best place for you to hide your bottle? What do you think? It's those kind of discussions. You just think, oh my God. But we all knew exactly what we were talking about. We were masters in that game of hiding, that game of escaping our reality. And then suddenly the crutch was gone. And that's an interesting experience because you can't hide anymore. You can't do anything. There was nothing there. When you're in an inpatient rehab, you are voluntarily giving away all your rights. In other words, you're locked in for 2 weeks, and they tell you what to eat, they tell you what to do, etc. And that was bizarre. Hey, I'm a doctor. Come on. Who are you to tell me that I can't go out? All that shit. All that, oh my God. Being stripped of all the dignity. But that's exactly what we need, what an alcoholic or an addict needs. That you're stripped down bare and really that you get the chance to look in the mirror and see it all, warts and all. I mean, you need to see what is your baseline. And only from then on can you start working. And you have no idea what to do. So therefore you need a system. And I was lucky because I was in a superb rehab and they did a 12-step system and it made a lot of sense to me. So I became a man who would now focus his energy on his recovery. And it was sort of like, okay, I've got 4 weeks, and then there will be an exam, and then I'm done, and then that's it. And I will never, ever be an addict again. So I'll deal with it. I'll do it. Yeah, about that. The reality is you will remain an addict all of your life, okay? Because it's the way we think, the way our brain works. It's there. It is just, and you see that again and again because so many people out there, they stop drinking alcohol and then they start chain smoking like a chimney. And then they stop chain smoking, and then there is no sweet safe from them. No chocolate piece was left uneaten. And then if that doesn't work, then it's pornography or gambling or whatever, real sex addicts. Or we go into do a little bit of sport, means 8 hours endurance races. So that's us addicts, okay? The issue of cross addiction is constantly looming out there, and it is something that you don't recognize. They tell you that in rehab, but then you have to experience it to believe it. And it has nothing to do with your intelligence. It has nothing to do with your gender. It has nothing to do with your skin color, with your upbringing, rich or poor. It does not matter. Alcohol is the great equalizer, and it does its job so well. Oh boy. And the cool thing is with alcohol, it has a little trick, because part of the disease of alcoholism is denial. 95% of people who drink far too much will swear on their mother's grave, on their own children, that there is nothing wrong with them. Okay? Joe over there, now he is an addict. Look at him, he is an alcoholic. Me, I'm just a social drinker. There's nothing wrong with me. Yeah, my ass. And that's the problem. So we are in denial, and that's part of it. The other thing is with addiction and alcoholism is that it's a disease of hiding. And I was so good in that. But I was also so busy in that. Because in the morning, you wake up and you hide that you're hungover. Then you hide that you're thinking of alcohol. Then you hide that you're buying the alcohol. Then you hide the alcohol. Then you hide that you're drinking the alcohol. And finally, try to hide that you're just a little bit drunk. And it, of course, and then the night comes and you start the next day exactly the same way again. I was busy. I was so busy hiding. And then suddenly, in rehab, something happens. And for me, it happened the first morning, because we had typically sort of had 8 o'clock kind of, or 7:30 breakfast, and then 8 o'clock we sort of came together with a quick motivational speech from the boss of the rehab. And thereafter, it was a bit like a AA meeting. So people went around, especially the new ones, had to introduce themselves. And so I heard other people saying, "Hi, I'm Susie. I'm an alcoholic. Hi, I'm John. I'm an addict." And then suddenly it was quiet. And I looked around and thought, "Oh shit, it's my turn." And so I stood up. And it was the first time. So I stood there and said, "Hi, I'm Stephan. I'm an alcoholic." That was when bloody hell, I've got goosebumps here. You guys can't see that on podcast, but it was such a powerful, crazy moment where my lips formed these words, my ears heard the words coming out of my mouth, and there was no more hiding. There was me being finally honest, and therefore admitting that I had a problem, and therefore being able to accept help. And that was, wow. I said those words, and I don't remember anything of the next hour, because my roller coaster of emotions, that was scarier than anything that a human could build for you to be scared in. This was joy, hate, guilt, shame, name any emotion. I had it in that hour. And then it was out there. And I could now start working with it. I could play with it. I could actually say it again. And sometimes I tried to say, no, I'm not an alcoholic, I'm an addict, understanding that addiction is far further. But then when I looked around, everyone who was an addict was really shooting up heroin or things like that. And that was never my stuff. So I thought, nah, okay, I'll stick with alcoholic. I'm an alcoholic. Much later did I realize that I was so much more holic than alcoholic. I was a workaholic. I was a escape artist, essentially. I was running away and give me anything. I was probably at some stage a sexaholic. I was busy running away from my problems. And I became very good in that. And unfortunately, that you can't just continue like that. So sooner or later, you have to face the music. And that was really when I finally allowed myself to heal, to explore the core beliefs. I had no idea what those things are. What are core beliefs? I don't know. I believe that I'm hungry. Yeah, exactly. No. I was a typical man as far as that is concerned. The stereotype of a man, shall I say? And it was just a bizarre time, I have to say. And then suddenly I have to explore these other things called feelings and emotions. That's the most dreaded session in rehab. 10 o'clock for us in the morning. You sit around a circle. You are not allowed to have anything in your hands. No sunglasses, no cap, no nothing. It's just you. And then typically it starts, hello, good morning, everyone. And then there is leaden silence. The guy just stops talking, says nothing. And there you're standing. No, you're sitting, actually. There you're sitting. And it becomes painful, the silence. And finally, someone says something. Oh, you did eat all the bloody chocolate last night. And I'm really pissed off with that. And suddenly there was a discussion. There was laughter. There was crying. There was anger. There was sadness. And all these emotions came out. And you had to feel them. You actually had to be aware of them. You couldn't drink to avoid them. You couldn't run away to avoid them. You actually had to feel them. And that's that's such a bizarre thing when I now describe it. But we were just, I know the Americans don't like the word retard, but I was emotionally retarded. I had no idea about my emotions. I couldn't feel them. I felt something. And most of the time I hated what I was feeling. But, these were waves of neurochemicals, and they had, bloody hell, they had a party in my head. And I was just, my God, it was like a marionette, like someone pushing buttons and I moved. That was really my life. Until I came into rehab. And until I started dealing with the shit that, the shit sandwich. That was my life up until then. Okay. And then things changed. And then that is really the start. That was the start of a transformation that I will never look back on. It cost me at the time, $27,000, those 4 weeks, all-inclusive holiday. Having said that, we didn't have that money. We had to take a loan out from the bank. The bank, luckily, heard the story and said, okay, we want to support you there. Come on, let's go for it. And it was the best investment ever. Because if you actually look at just the price, and if you look at return on your investment, well, I would have been drinking maybe 2 bottles of wine and then some, and later a bottle of vodka and then some. So that's every day. So that's about $30 a day. If you do the maths, a year and a half and the 27,000, that's pretty much it. Now, call it conservatively 2 years. Within 2 years, your return on investment is done, and everything from then on is bingo. That's exactly what my life turned out to be. The best investment ever, because I started investing in me. Not from a career point of view. I put all my energy always into my career. But when I was then in my 40s, if you asked me, Stephan, who are you? And I said, well, I'm a pain physician. I'm an anaesthetist and a pain physician. No. I mean, who are you, Stephan? I told you, I'm a pain physician. That was all I could say. There was no man there. It was just me working. And then suddenly, I had to face the music. There was nothing there. Oh, I was good in martial arts. When I look back, well, that was about 20 years ago. I did study, when I was 18, I studied circus arts. So I could juggle, I could, unicycle, walk a tightrope, those kind of things. I could spit fire. Well, yeah, that was 20 years ago. I was an excellent dancer. Okay, that's what the girls like. Cool, that's what I can do. Well, that was 20 years ago. You get the theme. And so I stood in front of this empty canvas and I could start painting and I could start reinvent myself. And that's the beautiful thing. Once you start dealing with your shit and actually come to terms with what has happened in the past and maybe draw a line in the sand and say, okay, from now on, maybe I want to live more intentionally and want to go out there and have the life that I deserve, that I dream of. And initially, you have no idea, or I certainly had no idea who I want to be. So I started small and I started washing up at home. And because you have to realize that whilst you are away, and I mean, there are earthquakes happening in your head every day, the revelations, the growth that happens for you in this rehab is unbelievable. And what happens to your family meanwhile at home? Bugger all. They just keep going in the grind. They just keep on working. And then you come home and you're expecting rose petals, fanfares. Here, the hero has returned. And in reality, they say, yeah, right. And that was so disappointing for me. Only then for me to realize how many times did I promise that I'd change? How many times did I make promises that inevitably I would then break? So you learn to make amends and you learn to make living amends. Living amends, basically, you learn to live with integrity. Integrity being defined as doing the right thing when no one is watching. And that was something that became very beautiful. I was always on my children and I was angry with them that they don't wash up, they don't do that, they don't do this, because I'm working so hard. Come on, you have to pull your weight. So I was probably not the nicest dad. So I started washing up. I started cleaning the kitchen. I started cooking. And yeah, I found a passion in that. So I baked them a German cheesecake. And I thought, oh, that's cool. So let's learn a bit more about German cheesecakes. And being a bloody doctor, I thought I might as well write a book about it. And that was my first book, Dangerously Good German Cheesecakes. There you go. And it was an awful book, and it's no longer out there. It was awful because it's written by a doctor. So there it was. You have got the encyclopedia of German cheesecakes. And then sort of halfway through the book, I thought, I might as well put some recipes in there. So it was that kind of a book. And you thought, oh, fuck's sake. So I ended up actually baking the hell out of my kitchen and took pictures and therefore got better into photography, did courses about food photography and learned how to edit my pictures better. And the growth started. And suddenly there was this pride there. I had published a book. And I was, wow. And around about that time, I also thought, hey, I never will be in the same place again where I'm only a doctor. This time I'm going to be an artist as well. So I didn't have much money. So my youngest boy and me, we on a Saturday morning went to garage sales. We tried to find treasures that we could resell or that we could turn into art. And it turns out I'm a shit artist. So, oh dear. But it was the most beautiful time that between my boy and me, because we did something together. We got up early in the morning. I saw the sunrise, which is quite unique because you never do that as an alcoholic. You, you see just about the evening, yes, with a glass of Chardonnay in your hand, but the sunrise, nah, that doesn't happen. So here I was building this beautiful relationship with my youngest son. And that was something that actually became a bit like a rescue for our relationship. Because, yeah, I had left them alone for a long time, being constantly at work, being constantly away. And then when I came home, I was far too tired or far too drunk. And so I was not a very good dad. And then I had this opportunity to now change that and live more intentionally with these young men. And that is actually very beautiful. So that is what waits for you. I became the living proof that the past does not equal the future. You can change things. And even if the odds are stacked against you, in my case, PTSD and depression and all those kind of things, and certainly my genes, my genetic makeup, I must have scored probably every of the 50 plus genes that are out there to make you more likely to become an addict or alcoholic. It's certainly alcohol played a huge role in a very destructive role in my previous ancestors. So yes, despite all that, I was able to change. And whilst my young men my two boys, for sure have got the same genes, they have also seen me at my worst and they've seen me at my best. They have seen that transformation is possible. They have seen that the past does not equal the future. They have seen all these beautiful things, and therefore that is probably a blessing. My addiction and my alcoholism was essentially turned out to be a superpower, because without my addiction, I would have not started that journey of self-discovery and of post-traumatic growth that I am on now. I would have never achieved a peace with myself, never achieved serenity in some moments in my life. I would have always run away from things, or I would have always been slave to my PTSD and to the adrenaline. Nowadays, I have come to terms with that. I have had treatments, some of them ongoing, i.e. Some medications are very good to help with depression, maintain that really well at bay. But also I'm learning to every day live intentional. I go out there and seek community. I seek connection. That's, for example, me being here with you. That is an hour of therapy, because here I'm bringing it all out. I'm saying again how it was in the past, but also how it is now. And it then allows me to dream of the future. And it's not just a dream, because a dream is a vague kind of thing that you might or might not recall after you wake up. No, you dream, and then you actually take some time. You jump off your hamster wheel and actually stop for a moment, and you take that dream and you now create a vision out of it. A vision meaning that you're absolutely going into every single detail of this dream. So that makes a dream a vision. And then you start taking action. And that is where the magic happens. By taking small but clear steps into the right direction, your vision becomes a mission. And that is where the power is. Every day, I have got a privilege of choice. Every day, shit happens around me. There's nothing I can do about that. But I've got a choice how I respond to that. The last 3 years were shit. I don't know anyone who has had a good time. 2022 was not nice to me. Thank you. Between COVID and financial winter and crap at work, I mean, please, this was more survival than actually a nice life. And in all fairness, at some stage, the Rambo had to come out, the kind of ice cold dude who walks over corpses in order to keep you alive. He had to come out and play a bit in the last year in 2022 to just let me protect myself and let me be out there to how shall I say that to you? Sometimes you can't be Mr. Nice Guy. Sometimes you just have to say, everyone go home. I don't care. I don't care that you're in trouble right now. I need to look after myself. That kind of situation. You will come into those situations, and it's good to have that kind of hard-nosed bastard living somewhere in your dungeon. And from now and then you can bring him out on chains and scare the living daylights out of others. That's good. Okay, that's good, because you can't be there for others all the time. I mean, the extreme versions are the people pleasers who then, eat their energy up left, right, and center, and then there's nothing left to look after themselves. I've learned not to be that person, over the last 8 years, but I still thrive from giving. I thrive from supporting others. So that's what I love to do. But there are times when there was nothing left for me to give, and you need to recognize that. And you shouldn't be ashamed or guilty or so. No, this is just, hang on, you've used up every single bit of caring that there is, because you've burned the candle far too much on both ends. Yep. Okay. Just carefully retreat and just make sure that you're safe and that the people around you are safe, but no little morsel extra. And it is what it is. So yeah, that is really this kind of weird transformation that happened to me, or that I made happen with the guidance of others. Let's put it like that, because it's a very active step. These are action steps every single day. You either work on your relapse or you work on your recovery. You either work on having a bad mental health day, or you work on being full of joy and full of calmness and serenity. You choose. You choose by eating crap or eating nice things, good things that your body actually needs, by hydrating, by looking carefully at your life, what is going on. Often we get hammered with stress, with things that we simply cannot do anything about. We are threatened by the financial winter. We are threatened by Ukraine and Russia, that this potentially become indeed a world war. We have got new COVID variants, which are far more infective, and the only thing you need now is a little bit of a tweak in the genetic makeup of these things to become a little bit more lethal. And yeah, there goes another few million people. All that is true. Certain things you can't do anything about. I cannot do anything about the war in the Ukraine. However, I can do something good related to that. For example, today I've got the honor to be a guest on your show. Whenever I'm a guest on a show, I donate money to the Ukraine to help people out there. So I make a point of giving, and I make that a point of being part of me. I'm not religious, so I'm not tithing or I'm not giving it to the church, but I've partnered with a group of people who do good all over the world, and through them, I'm assured that every cent I'm giving will reach those people out there. So there I am. So I can't do anything about the war, but I can help maybe a family, or I can help somewhere. I mean, every show that I do, where I bring on guests, I will either pay for a vocational rehabilitation or vocational training of a former sex slave, or I will assure that someone gets a year of clean water, those kind of things. So you can't do anything about the shit happening to you, but you can do something. And that is what I've learned. I've learned to truly listen to the prayer, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. That's a serenity prayer written 200, 300 years ago. But when I saw it first in rehab, I thought, wow, how do they know how I feel? How do they know what I want? Serenity. And that was wow. And as I said, I'm not religious. And the God in that prayer, and it being a prayer, initially I had trouble with that. Nowadays, I understand that God can be a group of druggies, a group of orderly drunks. It is basically the fact that there is something bigger out there than you, and that you need to understand that. And only when you surrender to that bigger something out there, then you're able to accept that maybe there are other people out there who can help you, who can guide you. And I think that is the biggest thing. The opposite of addiction is connection. And if we can connect more and speak more together, if we can work together, if we can, like you, Dom, you're putting this beautiful platform out there for people to come and share their insights. This is powerful stuff. This is how we can make the world a better place. Yes, it would be nice to have a few trillion so we can eradicate world hunger. Yeah, sorry. I'm not Bezos or whatever the names of the rich guys are. No. I don't have much money to throw around and give away, but I have something. And I've made the choice to make this world a better place. One interview at a time, one book at a time, one impact at a time. And this is beautiful. This is something that makes me proud. A lot of things I'm not very proud of, what I've done in my life. Okay, that was the past. But the past does not equal the future. And I think that is the key message that I want to send out to your audience, Dom. The past does not equal the future. Whatever you have done, guys, out there when you're listening now, I don't care if you have prostituted yourself, shot up whatever kind of drugs, robbed an old lady to get the money for your next fix. Yes, these are all things that you have done. And in due course, you will learn to make amends. But right now, that's not important. Right now, what is important, if you're still stuck, if you're still suffering in this hellish nightmare of addiction, that you know that there is help out there and that people are there to help you. And just one little statistic, the chance of chemical addiction, the incidence of chemical addiction out there is 1 in 4. And these are conservative studies. Some people say 1 in 3. That means basically you have got 1 in 3. If you look around, every third one of us is suffering from chemical addiction. If you then say that each of these people has at least one significant other, and again, that's very conservative, that means more than half of the population is affected by addiction. Okay? So here you are, full of shame and guilt. Oh, no one will ever understand me. Bullshit. No. Well, that is where you can go out there and if you just are ready to accept the help and ready to ask, then you will be amazed how many beautiful people coming out of the woodworks that you would have never thought were once in the same place as you. That is the amazing thing. It is the great equalizer, as I mentioned earlier. Alcohol affects so many people. And there are so many people out there who are now like me. We are not necessarily shouting it from the rooftops. Hey, I'm an addict. Look at me. But, if we are making ourselves available through social media, maybe by being in either virtual or in real AA meetings for you, there are so many people out there who have made it their mission to make this world a better place. And we are just waiting for you to finally stop hiding and finally say that enough is enough, that you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. Once you come to that point, then help is there. You just need to grasp it with open hands, and there is hope. And I think that's the other key message. There is hope and there's help out there.
Oh yeah, that's right indeed. There is help. There's hope, y'all. That's right indeed. That H&H. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. That's right indeed. Yes, indeed. Usually joke around when folks drop knowledge nuggets and say, "Hey, you got a tennis bracelet of wisdom," but my man broke out the whole jewelry case, y'all. That's right indeed. The
Shit,
whole
yeah.
freaking bank.
Oh no, it's that is what happens. That is what happens when you're in recovery. You are no longer taken prisoners. For me, it is the worst thing is wasted time. The worst thing is me having a day where I don't learn anything. Oh no, I don't let that happen. I want to learn. I want to share. I want to be there and give this life a meaning. And you're the same. You're the same. Today, I just talked and didn't give you a chance, Dom. So I'm very sorry for that. But hey, I guess to a certain degree, I was on the hot seat here. So come on. But we are doing the same. We both on the same mission. We are both convinced we can make this world a better place. And that's why we are here. And that's what I want everyone out there to know. You guys can come along on this journey. It is waiting for you. You just need to take small little steps, but consistent steps every day. And in no time will you have moved a long distance. And if you were to turn around, you think, wow, did I do all that? And it will not stop, because we are addicts, for crying out loud. I'm hooked. I'm hooked on life nowadays. I'm hooked on doing good, on putting smiles on people's faces. This is cool. I like that. So, that's different than the angry bastard I was, full of resentment and anger and shame and guilt. The man, me, when I was drinking. This is like a lifetime away. And I certainly don't want to go back there. On the contrary, I know what I don't want to be. Now I can finally decide who I want to be when I grow up. So, it is cool. I'm 56. I've got another 120 years to go. Come on. So it is. Let's go out there and let's have fun, man.
That's right. That fun on the bun, indeed. That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed, man. So many things to pick out, but hey, it's freaking amazing. I guess that's what happens when your vision becomes a mission. Indeed, that's right, indeed, that's right, indeed. And heck, like two other things popped out from the wonderful bank, and one of them, well, two of them. The first one is that you actually excel in chaos, and the other one was the fact that alcohol can be a teaser, and that really folks is really chasing that episode teaser, waiting for the next episode, and realizing, oh crap, a whole season passed before.
Yeah.
Oh crap, it's a freaking cliffhanger. You're never really gonna find that next high in this case unless you switch to something else more dangerous or deadly, man. So my
Correct.
goodness, yeah, so my goodness, my man, Dr. Steve, he was able to turn it around, baby. That's right, indeed. Turn it around, and now he's high on life. That's right, indeed. Better than alcohol, better than weed. That's right, indeed. He is a living blunt. Let me stop.
Indeed, man. And I'm proud of that. I'll own that. Okay, it is. And it is, guys. I'm not on any juice or any kind of things. So what you hear, that passion, that is true life, and that is you only hear that from someone who has been in the darkness and who now appreciates the light and will fight for that light forever and want to become that light, maybe in the darkness of others. And that's exactly what Dom is. Now he's on the back foot with his skin color, so light, and then so yeah, okay, but he's still doing ever so well. You can't see it, but his light is shining so beautiful, like a third eye coming out of his forehead here, and I love it. This man has got passion. This man has got the willingness to make this world a better place. Dom, I'm so grateful that you are ongoing in your efforts to help others. And it was a true honor for me to be a guest on your show.
Oh, heck yeah, indeed. Heck yeah, indeed. It's been fun on all the buns, indeed. That's right, indeed. So, two questions for you, and then I'll let you make a run for it, my man. So, fun
Shoot.
question for you. If your book, My Steps to Sobriety, if that were a food, what would it be and why?
Ooh, that's good. Ooh, that's good. What would it be? It would be. Oh, no one has asked me that question before. I think it would be a multi-layered, sweet sour chocolate cake, because there
Oh,
are moments in there when you bite in it. There will be moments that are sweet and that are comforting, and there will be moments when actually you bite on something really bitter, which is maybe a memory out of your past or things like that. So it's a very odd mixture of a cake. It's not something I would normally bake, let's put it like that. But there is sort of this. I mean, Harry Potter, they had these all sorts of chocolates where all tastes were in there, the most beautiful, including the most awful tastes like vomit. I think there's something like that.
oh, oh, one can imagine, indeed. My goodness, a sweet sour chocolate cake.
Yeah,
Folks would be like, the
exactly.
heck?
Yeah,
How?
exactly. But that's what recovery is. There are moments that are sweet as joy, and then there are moments when you just want to cry, when you actually realize that maybe some of the resentment in your life was actually created by you and had not so much to do with others, but more with the way that you lived your life. These are the moments where you just have to swallow that bitter pill. So yeah, but no, that was a question. I've had many, many interviews. No one has asked me that before. Dom, you are a master. That is perfect. What was number two? I'm scared of number two now.
Oh, don't worry. It's a little more tame than the first one. Usually. Well, it depends on how folks react to it. So if you're to wake up tomorrow and you're 25 again, but you're still in 2023, what advice would you give to yourself?
Don't try so hard. Don't try so hard. It's gonna be okay. Don't try so hard. I was such an idiot. I was such a numbnut, really. I was all the wrong things. And I would have loved to have started the journey of transformation maybe earlier. But then again, I was not ready then. So whatever I would send now to my 25-year-old, this 25-year-old would be a cocky bastard who would say, "Nah, I know it all better. Ah, rubbish, rubbish, rubbish. I know it all better." Because that is who I was. I was a self-made man based upon the fact that no one had helped me with my trauma. So I became in control, pathologically in control. So therefore, I don't think I would have listened to advice that was given to me. So I think these words sent back in the time machine to the 25-year-old would have fallen on very barren ground. These seeds would have not grown. It was only when I was in my 40s was I ready to change. But yeah, don't try so hard would be in big block letters written on that message.
That's what I'm talking about, indeed. Heck, definitely is a message for life. It's kind of funny because when you think about it, sometimes it's like some of your wins come when you're not trying so hard. It's like, hey, what the heck? Like all this darn pushing forward, pushing to the front. And it's like the one time we take a break, it's like, oh, the goal's here. Like, oh, well, we should have do this ahead of
So true. So true, man.
Well, and speaking of not trying so hard, we're going to put all this stuff in the wonderful show notes. But for those who need to keep in contact with you and be on the lookout for more of the wonderful content you're putting out in the world, what's the best way for folks to do so?
Very easy. mystepstosobriety.com, all written in one word. You will find links there to my books, to my show. If you think that you would be a good guest to be on my show, there is the onboarding process there. You see links to the good impact that I'm doing with B1G1, with this to help other people in the world. You see a link to my new challenge, because unfortunately, as I said, 2022 wasn't so great. So a lot of stress and a lot of distress, and therefore also a lot of emotional overeating. So I'm a big boy, and I have decided, no, I have beaten alcohol in the past. Let's change this life around. And not just, I mean, you can easily drop a third of your body weight if you just stop working, go on a remote island somewhere with a private chef, with a private trainer. That would be nice. I could shed weight in no time. But I will do so on the wrong side of 50. I'm 56. I will shed 1/3 of my body weight. I will turn into a very healthy man. And with that, I mean far more than just going for a run or something like that. No. And I will share my journey with you guys out there. So those people who are interested in such a journey and who believe, oh, no way will he do that. Well, firstly, I will prove you wrong and take that for granted. And B, I will learn so much in that journey. So I'm learning functional medicine, which is something like a new diploma out there, where we as doctors learn more about the way our bodies really work, because there are so many breakthroughs, so many cool things. We learn constantly new. So I'm going on this journey. So I'm going to be your guinea pig, guys. So if you want to come along and want to see how I'm doing, well, there you go. My Patreon page is there and my links to that. So this is going to be an exciting year. My show will continue. I'm reporting twice per week in with 2 guests, so Tuesday and Friday, and I'm gonna be out there. And who knows, Dom, you and me, man, we've only just started working together. Can you imagine if we two get our noggins there a bit more together, and what we could create? And maybe there are some people out there who think, wow, these two, they are really cool dudes. So maybe, just maybe, again, by connecting, we can create new pathways of making this world a better place. It bloody well needs it. So we might as well do it.
Woohoo! That's right indeed. Just like the mountain, just do it indeed. That's right indeed. See, heard the good doc himself, baby. That's right indeed. And over to his wonderful website. Check out his Patreon page. Keep up with his journey. So that way you can see him in the other half of the life. That's right indeed. Where the next 50 plus years are going to be even better and not better, y'all. That's right indeed. And be sure to subscribe to his wonderful show and check out his books as well, because our man has got a whole bunch of books out there, especially that wonderful bestseller by Steps to Sobriety. And he's probably got even more stuff coming out. So he's just getting started indeed. He's at the cream. He hasn't even gotten to the bottom of the cupcake yet. So be on the lookout for that bottom of the cupcake, metaphorically indeed. So any parting words before we close up shop?
The past does not equal the future.
If you're listening to this, that means you're one cool individual. If you want to be cooler than 2 cucumbers, share this episode with someone that you think will enjoy it too. And be sure to subscribe and keep being fabulous.